So, I'm gonna be honest with you. I walked into this movie completely blind. No trailers, no marketing, no nothing. And apparently, that was a mistake on my part because, from what I understand, the marketing campaign for this movie was genuinely insane. Like, they went all out. But I missed all of that. The only thing I had going in was the name of the movie, and that name is Longlegs. Now, I want you to do something for me. If you've seen this movie or the trailers or familiar with the marketing campaign, I want you to distance yourself from all of that for just a second. Forget what you know and imagine someone walks up to you and says, "There's this new horror movie coming out and it's called Longlegs." What do you picture? Because what I pictured was a cheap Halloween horror movie, the kind that gets thrown into the theaters in October to catch people who just want to watch something spooky to watch on a Friday night. Maybe a new kind of monster, something in the vein of Annabelle or Terrifier, some creature with, and I cannot stress this enough, long legs. That is where my brain went. A tall, lanky monster with long legs doing monster things. You can imagine my surprise when I actually sat down and watched this movie, because what I got was not that, not even close. What I got was a genuine cult classic level mystery horror thriller that went way, way harder than the name suggested, and honestly, way harder than I was prepared for. I was expecting a forgettable seasonal horror movie, and I got something that stuck with me, and for once, I'm not complaining about being wrong. Now let's talk about what actually makes the movie interesting, because there's a lot to unpack here. Every iconic movie needs a gimmick, if you will. That one very specific thing that makes it memorable and unique. The Ring has 7 days after you watch the tape. You get the phone call, you have 7 days. Simple, terrifying, and unforgettable. That gimmick is why people still talk about that movie decades later. Longlegs also came up with something I genuinely have not seen before. Girls whose birthdays fall on the 14th of February start receiving a gift, a doll, a replica of the birthday girl made to look exactly like her, and shortly after her entire family is terminated by the father, who then self-terminates. And the connection to Longlegs himself is not immediately obvious. That is the mystery the whole movie is built around. And I think that gimmick is genuinely original. It has same DNA as the Ring's 7 days setup. It is a specific rule, a simple pattern, and once you understand it, you cannot stop thinking about it. The question I keep coming back to is whether it is iconic enough to stand next to the classics. Whether 10 years from now people will still be referencing the February 14th doll the same way they reference the 7 days tape. I think it has the potential. Whether it gets there depends on how much the movie lives on in public memory. Now, the other thing this movie does well, and I want to be clear that this sounds basic on paper, but the execution is anything but, and that is the devil imagery in this movie. Satan in horror movies is usually one of two things: either completely over-explained to the point where all the mystery is gone, or so vague that it feels lazy. Longlegs finds a third option, which is showing you just enough to make you feel deeply uncomfortable without ever giving you the full picture. The whole plot is kind of laid out in front of you, but the explanations are withheld deliberately. And the specific detail that I cannot stop thinking about is the hollow metal ball inside the doll's head. What is that? Why is it there? And when it gets shot, it emits a smoke. Nobody explains that in the movie. The movie just lets that sit there and moves on. And somehow that is more unsettling than any explanation they could have given. And the broader question the movie raises is, Why does Satan care about terminating these specific girls on these very specific dates? It's never fully answered either, which sounds like it should be frustrating, but honestly, it's not, because the movie earns that ambiguity. It shows you enough of the mechanics to make the theater feel real, and then it trusts the audience to sit with that unanswered parts. That is genuinely hard to pull off, and most horror movies do not manage it. So, where does that leave Longlegs overall? I went in expecting nothing and came out genuinely impressed. The gimmick is original, the devil imagery is handled with more care and restraint than most horror movies manage, and the mystery at the center of it holds together well enough that the unanswered questions feel intentional rather than lazy. Is it iconic? Is the February 14th doll going to be talked about the same way the 7-day tape is talked about? I think it has a real shot, but that is something only time is going to answer. What I can tell you is that this movie is worth watching if you haven't already. That's all I have for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, it's time for a goodbye.